So you want to open an investment account for your kids. Well, there are a few things to consider here, like taxes, restrictions, and really ultimately, what will this money be used for? My name is Keith Wilson. I'm a financial advisor helping folks just like you open accounts for their kids. And in this video, we're going to talk about the different types of accounts available. We're going to look at the advantages as well as the disadvantages of each account and how it impacts both the child and you.
Lightning strikes and then you're gonna know my name.
Hey, starting an investment account for your child can be a great way to see some potential compounding growth over the years. But in order for your child to open a brokerage account, they must be 18 years old. Well, not to worry, because you as the parent can open what is called a custodial account for the benefit of the child. Now, custodial accounts, they come in a few different flavors, and deciding between those accounts will really depend on what your goal is with the money. I mean, is it saving for college? Is it getting them a head start for their future retirement way down the road? Or do you simply want to start an investment plan for future growth? Well, let's dive into your options here and see what makes the most sense to you. Hey, but before we do, you may want to subscribe to the channel so you can see other videos that talk about personal finance. And hey, while you're at it, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me more than you know. Okay, if you have a goal of saving for college for your child, then a 529 plan may be something to consider. So a 529 plan it's really specifically for college. So a 529 plan is not really a custodial account, but here's how it works. You would be the owner of the account and your child would be the beneficiary. Now, don't confuse beneficiary on a 529 plan with a beneficiary of a life insurance policy. You don't have to die before the child receives the money. Now, the beneficiary on a 529 plan simply means for the benefit of the child. Here's the thing, there's no maximum amount you can contribute each year, but there is an aggregate amount that can be contributed, that's going to vary by state, but it's usually pretty high, with some states as high as $500,000. So for most people, that's more than enough. And you typically have a wide array of investment options to choose from inside the plan. And with some states, you could have a state income tax deduction on your contributions. From there on out, the money grows tax-free as long as it's used for eligible expenses for the child. Things like tuition, room and board, computer equipment, books and supplies. And the way it works, so when your child goes to college, you simply make a withdrawal from the account to pay for those expenses. Now, this all sounds great, but I know what you're thinking. People say to me, hey, Keith, what if my child does not go to college? What then? Well, if you withdraw money out of the 529 plan for non-eligible expenses, then you would pay a 10% penalty and taxes on the growth portion of the plan. But hang on, there are a lot of back doors to access these funds without penalty and taxes. First of all, you got to understand this, there is no time limit to use the money. So maybe your child delays going to college. Well, the funds will still be there to use when they do go to college. Or if you have other children, then you can change the beneficiary to the other child. You can even hang on to it and later change the beneficiary to say maybe your grandchild. It's not just for college. It can be used for expenses such as tuition for private school, grades K through 12, but that's up to $10,000 per year. But also it could be used for vocational or trade schools, and it can be used to pay for student loans up to $10,000. And here's another new rule that I love, which is the money could be rolled to a Roth IRA for that child. Now, we got some rules about that. It would be limited to whatever the contribution limit is for that year. the child would have to have earned income, and you would have to have the plan for 15 years before the rollover. And it would be limited to a maximum of $35,000 that could be rolled cumulatively. So if college savings is your main goal, I got to tell you, the 529 plan, that is the Mac Daddy. Now, the next type of account you may want to consider is an UTMA plan, or Uniform Transfer to Minors Act. Now, unlike the 529 plan, child would be the owner, not you. You would act as the custodian of the account, and unlike the 529 plan, this account can be used for anything as long as it's for the benefit of the child. It could be used for college or private tuition, computers, car purchases, really literally anything, but again, as long as it is for the benefit of the child. This could be a great way to, slowly build wealth over time for your child, as you can invest the money in any way you like. You would be responsible for managing the assets. Now let's talk about taxes on the UTMA plan. The first $1,250 of income earned each year on that account, like dividends or interest or capital gains, that would be taxed at 0%. The next $1,250 of income, that would be taxed at the child's tax rate, which is essentially going to be 0% if they have no other income. Now, income over $2,500 each year from that account would be taxed at the parent's tax rate, and this is known as the kiddie tax. And by the way, these figures I'm throwing out to you, those are for 2024, and pretty much each year they adjust those figures. But keep in mind, ultimately, it is the child's account, and at a certain age, which is usually age 21, and that depends on the state you live in, then at that age of majority, the account must be turned over to them at that point, and guess what? They can do whatever they want with it. With that in mind, UTMA plans, hey, it may be a good choice if you plan on using the funds for the child before they reach age of majority, or maybe you feel pretty sure they would be responsible with the money at age of majority. But UTMA plans, they may not be the best for planning for college because it could hurt them applying for financial aid since that account is in their name. With that in mind, some parents may consider having a combination of an UTMA and a 529 plan. The next custodial account to consider is a custodial Roth IRA account. This can only be utilized if the child has income. So maybe as they get older, they have a summer job, mowing lawns, babysitting, or whatever. Anything that generates income. You could then open a custodial Roth IRA and fund that with the income that they are earning up to that year's contribution limit, which in 2024 is $7,000. A Roth IRA is really a good way to start them on the path for retirement, early on. And that potential compounding growth, that could really set them up down the road for their own retirement. Starting early, that's the key. But keep in mind the rules of the Roth. It must be kept for 5 years or age 59 and a half, whichever is later, to avoid a 10% penalty and taxes on the growth portion. But think about this. They could be teenagers at this point, where this could be used as a great teaching moment about money and the power of compounding and how starting early in life makes all the difference in the world. Now, one last idea. If the prospect of opening up a 529 plan for college or an UTMA plan or a custodial Roth, that doesn't sound appealing to you at all, but you still wanted an account set up, earmarked for your child, then what you could do is simply open a brokerage account in your own name, and that way you control how it is dispersed. Now, this would be a taxable account, so you would be responsible for any of the taxes on dividends, interest, or capital gains. But again, you could use it for any purpose. Maybe a wedding, down the road, maybe to help with your children with a startup business or simply gifts as they reach adulthood. But you would be in total control as it would be your own account. So a lot to consider here when setting up accounts for your children. And hey, since I don't know your personal situation, I would encourage you to get with your financial advisor, or if you'd like to discuss it with me, there are some resources below to get in touch with me. Hey, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.
If I don't know any limitations.